Are we recording? As always, what's up, guys? Alex at ALP Entertainment with the co-host Luke. Luke, say what's up to the people.
What up, what up?
Guys, we'll be talking about the unfortunate game of Creighton versus Nebraska, the I-80 rivalry that we got to experience firsthand. Myself, Luke, and our producer, Keyshawn. We actually got to go to the game this past Sunday. It was a blast. Regardless of the outcome, I had such a good time. Fortunately, I had to work in the morning, so I had to work about a half shift. But I was able to get the afternoon off, spend time with the guys, and get to watch the game. I just want to make a quick note of it, too, that when we arrived in Lincoln, that we were walking to Longwells, which is just a little sports bar across the street from Pinnacle. Your boy Luke spotted Josiah Alec outside the Pinnacle before anybody else did. You know, there's always that line outside of Pinnacle of people trying to get inside, waiting to be let in. It was a cold morning. You know, it was about late 20s, early 30s. It was a little chilly. Josiah Alec walking in with that giant fur coat, and Luke recognized him from across the street first. And if you guys don't believe me, we actually have a YouTube channel now, ALP Entertainment. It's the exact same thing. The logo is the exact same. Look us on YouTube. Subscribe to us. Find us. Evidence is right there. And of course, watch our producer Keyshawn just work his magic. It's incredible to watch. Luke, what'd you think of seeing Josiah?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's hard not to notice him. He's a 6'8" man with very large curly hair and a very large fur jacket, and so it was upsetting to me that he didn't get recognized sooner. But the crowd finally picked up on who it was. They gave him a big ovation.
After you said something?
After I said something, but
I wonder who that guy was that was recording. Maybe he's part of the...
He's probably part of the social media team or something like that. No, it was fun for 2 hours before tip, and then the first 8 minutes of the game, everyone was having a good time. Voices were lost, drinks were had.
It was a blast. I mean, obviously we want to come out with a win in that situation, in that environment. But even in defeat, I felt like we had such a good time. I think the crowd had such a good time. A lot of my coworkers actually got to go to the game too. So I've been hearing it on work too about, because they're Creighton fans, so they're rubbing it in. But it is what it is. You win, you lose some.
Yeah, we had bragging rights last year, so they can have bragging rights again this year.
Yeah, whatever. I will say, though, kind of going into the game, I thought the first 7 to 8 minutes, Nebraska looked like they were ready. They were competing. It was probably a 5-point game was the biggest lead, and then just kind of Creighton took off with it. I felt that I don't know what happened with our shooting. We just couldn't shoot that day, and maybe it's just an off day for us. But we just weren't attacking the glass. We weren't shooting well. I thought that, the refs do play they play a factor in the game. I did not know this, but the ref that was there is widely hated in the state of Nebraska. Did not know that until we went to the game. And it just seemed like he was not calling anything. And you kind of go for you just believe that the refs will give the home crowd kind of just more of calls in a way, kind of just help them. But this ref did not care, nor did he do anything to help Nebraska. I just believe we couldn't get the ball moving at all. What'd you see?
I mean, it was super high-paced, high-energy. First 7-8 minutes, you held them to 1 of 5 from 3-point range. You were keeping Kolpner out of the paint for the most part. You're doing the things that you needed to do to win the game, but eventually you play into Creighton's hands, playing at that fast pace and trying to hit as many threes as they hit. And when it comes down to running up and down the court and shooting threes, unfortunately, Creighton has the advantage in that. And I don't think people understand is there's not really another team in the country that's built or runs the style of offense that Creighton runs. And so, and especially in the Big Ten, pretty much every Big Ten team is the exact opposite of what Creighton is. And so you won't have to worry about running into that that kind of a monster again, or at least someone. Baylor Shireman would be more specific, hitting, what did he hit, 16?
16 points?
16, no, he had like over 10 threes.
Oh, I know that he had at least 8, but he was shooting from the parking lot.
Yeah, he,
Catch and shoot, quick release.
I'm pretty sure he was close to breaking a record for 3-pointers made. No, but there's not really another team that's like that. Like we just, after that game, we played, we'll talk about it a little bit, but we played Minnesota, and Minnesota, excuse me, is the second, is second in the league in in 3 points made per game, and they're not good at all. So
I thought too that, I know we talked last week and kind of even going into this game when we arrived in Lincoln. You can see it on the vlog too. We talked about how you just can't expect to outshoot Creighton in 3 points. Like, you just can't. Creighton's known for that. They have the shooters. It did not surprise me that Creighton did not go into the paint as much, and they were just looking to shoot beyond the arc and kind of mid-range. They didn't go in the paint one bit. I thought that was the area for Nebraska that we could expose, and we can just drive to the paint. But it seemed like we were kind of scared to attack the paint, especially because the referees weren't giving us the call. I know Fred got that technical, which was crazy to me to see him get one. But it's just like wild to me that we didn't at least try to drive to the basket.
Yeah, it was a lot of quick shots, early shots in the shot clock. Our defense, I don't know what the hell was going on with our defense. It was like a fire drill out there. Everyone was just kind of running around and scrambling, and running around and scrambling against a Creighton offense is pretty much a for sure gone conclusion that you're going to lose that game, because their ball movement is so crisp.
Creighton looked like they probably should be ranked higher than the 15 that they were. Like, I understand that they just got blown out by Colorado State, but I don't think that they should have fell that far. I believe they're still a top 10 team. After that performance, they're still a top 10 team.
Yeah, no, they're really good. They're just they're decisive with their decision making. They're crisp with their passes. They know who they are, their identity as a team, and I feel like sometimes Nebraska doesn't know quite who they are. You're starting to see. We know that Casey is kind of our go-to guy, or at least the number one on the scouting report. We've seen the past couple games Bryce Williams trying to step up to be that number 2 guy, or just that other guy that can get his whenever he needs. Unfortunately, the last 2 games where he's been doing that, Nebraska has lost. So,
and he's been performing terribly. Like, I think to your point, I think he needs to take a step back and either allow the offense to create space so Casey can score, get the ball and score, or he just needs to understand his assignment and his role and try not to be that one scorer. Allow it to be Casey. Dish the ball out, get your boards, get the points when you can, but don't force anything.
Yeah, and then we obviously a big part of for the Creighton game of our game plan was relying on Rank Mass to step out and hit the 3-pointers, and he went 0 for in that game, so that definitely doesn't help. And you don't want to jump to the conclusion that he's a bad shooter. Like, don't take those shots. Like the previous game, he went 3 for 3 behind the arc, so he can do that. We just have to realize when he's not hitting it, like, what's another option that we can do. And that's one of the reasons I was kind of frustrated a little bit more with Fred Hoiberg these past couple games, like just some of the decision makings and when to pull people, when to keep people in, and the type of offense.
His son doesn't start, does he?
No, his son doesn't start, but I like his son playing. He has good energy and he does the right things.
I agree. I like Sam, right?
Yeah.
I love watching Sam play. I didn't know that was his first name. I don't know why I was blanking on his name, but I like watching his son play. He just has that kind of motor that never goes away, but he's also got that like scrappy Wolverine-ish vibe to him where he will dive on the floor, go for loose balls. He'll play chippy. He'll play physical. Like when he was in the end of the first half, he was able to drive to the hoop, and they actually drew a foul. So, I mean, I like to see that. I would hope that the rest of the team gets that same mentality or figures it out now that we're going into conference play. But
we definitely need to figure out kind of the point guard situation, because Jamarcus Lawrence, I mean, he had a terrible game against Minnesota, but for the most part, he's not turning the ball over, which is what you want in a point guard. However, he's a player that we've learned is kind of similar with Bryce Williams. Like, he can get his shot almost anytime he wants. And last year he was averaging, towards the end of the season, 15 a game.
yeah,
This year we've pushed him into a new role of point guard, where he's not even averaging 5 points a game this year, and he's trying to be just that point guard spot. And I feel like, especially in this last 2 games, the Creighton and Minnesota one, we need him to step out of that point guard role and step back into a go get your own shot kind of guy.
what did you think, like, the biggest? We got people vacuuming outside right now. What was the, like, biggest lesson learned, in your opinion, from this game? Like, what do you think that we took away from the Creighton game?
I don't know. I mean, it was tough for the guys. I mean, like, the radio show I listened to, it was tough for them to kind of really pick out a positive from the game. You just kind of, I guess, learn from it and watch film, and just let it. You don't want to let it sit with you, because then it'll affect you in other games. But just don't forget that feeling, because you don't want to be blown out by 30 any other time again this entire season if you want any chance of making a postseason. So just know that that's not who you guys were. You can play better than that.
I agree. For me, it was, we can't fall into their game plan. We can't fall into doing what they want us to. I know that sounds like cliche and it sounds like just common sense, but Creighton is a 3-point shooting team. We knew that going into the game. We knew that they don't do well against mid-rangers and in the paint. They're not physical by any means. We fell into their game plan. We were obviously not hitting our shots. It was just one of those days where we were not shooting well. They were shooting well. It seemed like every single time that the ball got to the 3-point arc, it was going in to whoever was shooting it.
It's just because they got all the right passes off at all the right time. They found the open shooter every single time.
I want to point out kind of what you said too, of, they're better than that, like not letting it sit with you for a while. And just remember that feeling. Like with my football team that I coach, we got blown out, 32-0 in week 2. And we were lucky enough to play that same team that beat us in the final week for 3rd place. I know it's only 3rd place, but we had the chance to play them again for 3rd place at the end of the season. In the entire week that I was leading my team to that game, it was kind of the same message of, you need to remember that feeling of how you felt. You felt disappointed. You felt frustrated. You felt sad. You felt upset about getting beat that bad. Like, you now understand what it feels like. You know them. So now learn from it, make the adjustments, and let's move on and win. We won on a last-second Hail Mary. It was insane. That's probably one of the greatest plays I've ever been a part of, even as a player and a coach, to see that, experience it for my team. But I agree. I think that's something you don't want to hang your head on, but I hope that I know it's way far-fetched to think about this, but if we somehow get the chance to play Creighton in the tournament, like, I hope just Nebraska remembers what it's like to be embarrassed in Pinnacle, and we just get to destroy them. But time will tell for that. What did you think, like, the game plan was going into Minnesota? Like, obviously now we have to think about, we're going into league play. What do you think, like, the game plan should have been going into Minnesota?
I mean, obviously, going into league, that it's going to be super, super physical. It's going to be a lot of guys that are just fighting for, like, I don't know. When I think of Big Ten basketball, I just think of rebound.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of how everyone's, like, just super jacked and physical and fighting for rebounds all the time. A lot of players will get like 15 rebounds, 10 points and stuff like that. That's kind of what Big Ten Big Ten basketball is, and then each team has a couple of people that can score as well. But I just knew that it was going to be a completely different team, completely different type of basketball than Creighton, and you were just hoping that um, they would realize that or know that. I know we have a lot of newcomers this year, so they haven't truly had a taste of Big Ten basketball and what it is. And so, unfortunately, I think it was another wake-up call. We're like, oh shit, like this is Big Ten basketball. There's a guy on Minnesota who averaged 3 rebounds a game, and at the end of the game, he almost had a double-double with rebounds. And so,
Jeez.
the announcers were talking about it too. They're like, that needs to be his bread and butter. Like, he needs to make that his identity. And I'm just like, well, you're going to run into a lot of other people in the Big Ten that haven't figured out, oh yeah, I can just get any rebound I want because I'm so freakishly athletic. And so hopefully we can make adjustments. It's going to be pretty similar, just more well coached when we play Michigan State next. It's going to be physical, grinding, slow basketball. But you got Tom Izzo on the other side, and he's a Hall of Fame coach. So
yeah, I was not able to watch the first half. I got home right as halftime was kind of getting over, so I did see we were up by 15. To me, that's like
we were killing them. We were doing great in the first half.
Really? I mean, I didn't, like I said, I didn't get to watch it, but when you're up 15, to me, basketball is so tricky to me. I'm not a big basketball guy. Like I'm becoming one as of late. I'll tell you, when you're up by 15, even in a football stance or even a basketball stance, I still think it's a close game. I still think the opponent still has a chance to make a comeback. With basketball, it's 5 threes, boom, 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 or just making some stops that you need to make. So
it wasn't even like we were just shooting really good and up by 15. Like statistically, like we had so many more assists to shots made, and we were hitting all our free like we were just playing well-rounded basketball, like all the way. We weren't even hitting a ton of threes, to be honest with you. Like we were just getting to the rim whenever we wanted, getting to the line whenever we wanted, and it was honestly beautiful basketball, and I was excited to see that. And I have never seen a more epic collapse in my life.
I was gonna say, it seems like second half for me, when I was watching the second half, it was all turnovers. Like that seems to be our kryptonite, that we're making bad passes, we're making bad decisions. I thought that Minnesota did a good job of shutting down Casey. I thought they did a good job of game playing for him, but kind of what we said earlier, that if Casey's not hitting his shots or he's getting shut down, someone else needs to step up. Don't know who that person is yet. I think that's an area that we need to work on. I think that we need to find someone that can step up and hit those shots that when we need them to hit it. I don't know. Kind of what's your thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. Pretty much every team we've played so far this year, just because of what Casey did last year, the other player from start to finish is face guarding Casey. And I felt a little bit towards in that Minnesota game, like they were, I mean, it's home field in the barn, and so you don't expect to get a ton of calls like that, but they were really just like all up in Casey's face, like arms to the face, forearms to the face, and they made an emphasis this year, I know, in college basketball to let players off the ball free flow, to make cuts and stuff, and to create less injuries on the court, to like let players off ball move a little bit more. And they were definitely not letting Casey do that whatsoever. I know some people think he likes to throw his hands up and jerk his head back, and he's good at doing that, but no, he was truly getting fouled, and like I felt bad for him because he wasn't getting any benefit of the doubt calls until we were down by 10 with 2 minutes left, and they gave him a couple tic-tac fouls when he was trying to make some cuts and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. He'll have to figure out, because that's going to be a game plan for every team we play, is their smallest and quickest defender is going to face guard Casey the entire time, and so you're going to have someone step up and hit some shots, so that defender eventually will have to leave Casey and help out a little bit, and then that can free Casey up. But yeah, you're right, until we can find that
next man up, the second guy.
Yeah, and I think Bryce Williams can do that. It's the turnovers. Him and Jamarcus Lawrence the past couple games have been turning it over, but both of them are capable of getting their own shot whenever they want to. And so hopefully one of those two can step up.
I felt like even just kind of in the second half, we weren't finding a rhythm of the three-pointer. Like, and it's probably because, we highly depend on K-State to hit it, but we shot 27.8%. We'll just round it up and say 28, but we shot 28% from the three at Minnesota. I always think, we only hit 1 or 2 threes at Creighton, against Creighton. Like, I don't know if it's just, shooters not making their shots, being contested, whatever it may be. I feel like now that we're not able to hit these three-pointers, this is when we need to attack the paint, attack the glass, even set up the mid-range. If you set up the mid-range, and you just...
Fred Hoiberg hates a mid-range shot.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. He thinks it's the worst shot in basketball.
Dude, if you just pass it to the mid-range and you either hit it, or what was it called, the triangle offense from Phil Jackson? Like,
yeah.
Doing that and then getting your three-pointer open, getting him to run around. I mean, just get him the ball, because what's going to end up happening is if you keep hitting that mid-range or you keep hitting in the paint, initially that second defender is going to come down and crash down, and then it leaves a three-pointer open.
Yeah, and you're starting to realize how much we missed. We like Rink Mast is an amazing player, but how much we missed Derek Walker, his ability to go up to the corner of the free throw line at the top of the key, and get the ball and then just create our offense from there. He had the ability to dribble off ball and pretty much take any person in the Big Ten one-on-one to the basket, and win most of the time. And so Rink Mast, that's not really his game. He can do that, but his game is he's really, really smart, really good with his feet, good touch, and then he's supposed to be able to hit three-pointers. And so hopefully he can figure that part out, because if he's not hitting threes, then that's going to be... Did you
believe going into that game that we should have won? We should have beaten them?
Minnesota?
Yeah, Minnesota.
Yeah, it was a game. It was... Some people were saying it was a must-win, because you need to win any of these games that you're supposed to win. I know Minnesota, I think, was like maybe a 2-point favorite or something like that. But you're supposed to, you have a better roster top to bottom. You have a better team. That was a game that you were supposed to win. In the first half, you were looking exactly the part. So I really hopefully they can make some adjustments. They have Michigan State next. It's going to be another grinder, tough game. I would be surprised if we go 3 games in a row without hitting our shots. So I think maybe against Michigan State we'll pick things back up again.
Yeah, I think that Michigan State's record, which is 4-4, doesn't do them justice. I haven't looked at their losses, the wins and losses, and who they're to, but I don't feel like that does them justice. I mean, every year you have to just expect to see Michigan State in the Elite Eight, Sweet 16, Final Four. Like, Michigan State is that team every single year. As long as that coach is there, until he retires, that coach will always get them to the tournament, and they will always do well. I don't know what it is, if it's like the Bill Belichick era of
he's
coaches.
Got a cult, yeah, he's kind of. I mean, he's kind of like a Nick Saban of college basketball a little bit. He just has a culture. He knows who his team is. He knows exactly how to coach in the Big Ten, and so even with less talented players than he would maybe typically have, he can still make do with it.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing to me that you see the same, I wouldn't say the same teams in the Elite Eight every year in the Final Four, because you have the Cinderella stories and you have the major upsets that come in the tournament. That's the beauty of the bracket. But I believe, in my opinion, my most recent memories has been Michigan State's just been good. They've always been good, I think, since Tom Izzo got there.
Yeah, even their bad seasons, they're still like a 12 or 14 seed in the NCAA tournament. So,
do you remember the point guard from Michigan State? Was it like Cassius Stanley Jr.? Is that his name?
Oh yeah, he's on the Wizards. Well, I don't know if they traded him, but I know who you're talking about.
Like, that dude was point guard of the year for all of college basketball, and that was a sleeper team. I feel like they lost in the Final Four. Like, that's it's kind of one of those like forgotten memories you kind of forgot about until someone brings it up to you. But it shows right there that some guy who was a point guard that was 5'8", 5'9", who's typically shorter than your typical point guard, your average point guard, can lead a team. And Tom Izzo was able to get him the ball. He was able to hit his shots and just kind of lead the team into a very long run in the tournament.
Yeah, he's known for doing more with less. That's kind of his thing. That's why he's going to be a Hall of Fame coach. But we'll see. It's a Sunday at 5:30.
Yep, Sunday at 5:30. Okay, so one big thing that's been going on in college sports, just in general, is the NIL and the transfer portal. This year's transfer portal, to me, has been, the most spotlighted transfer portal, and I think it is because of the NIL. I know that Coach Rule has said that for a good quarterback now, you have to be looking to pay $1.5, $2 million for a quarterback. That's just kind of what they cost. Even Marvin Harrison Jr., who's might be the number one overall pick for the NFL draft, upcoming draft, that he has said that he'll make probably $25 to $30 million from NIL this year, which would be more than his NFL contract. So he's thinking about staying another year just to make as much money as possible. I think that's kind of ludicrous. I think that you need to cap the money. You need to do something. I know our producer Keyshawn said the other night that you need to figure out a way to separate them between football and NIL. So your NIL is literally based off of you solely and not your sport. I don't know if that will ever happen. I think because you are such a big football school or a big volleyball school or basketball, baseball, whatever your sport is, you're going to get all that money fed to that particular sport and that program for that reason. What's kind of like, what's your input on the transfer portal like this year? Like, what do you think is like the highlight, or why do you think it's such a spotlighted transfer portal?
I mean, I just, like you kind of said, I think players are realizing that they're going to have a better chance of making more money staying in college. I don't really mind how much people or how little people make. I think the bigger issue with it is the poaching, where like you offer a player, for example, it hasn't came out yet, but we're pretty positive. Like the Carlone Jones defensive end, we had a NIL deal for him. He committed to us, and then another school came in and said, "Oh yeah, you actually look like you have some talent. We like you as well. We're going to offer you a little bit more money." And so hopefully they were talking about that on the radio. They have some way of regulating that, and they think just really it's going to come down to contracts, because there's not another sport where you're making money where there's not contracts involved. You can't. Patrick Mahomes can't sign a 5-year. This is just off the top of my head, random numbers. He can't sign a 5-year, $50 million deal, and then the Patriots come in and say, "Well, we're." After he signed that contract, the Patriots can't come in and say, "Well, we'll offer you 6 years, $60 million." Like he has to serve out that contract still, and so I feel like maybe that's one of the only ways that we can regulate the poaching and the players maybe getting wrong advice from people and just trying following the money.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, another reason why the transfer portal is getting so much attention right now, is because of the quarterback position. A lot of schools are losing their quarterback to the portal because of the NIL opportunities are elsewhere. The biggest names, in my opinion, that have highlighted it, I initially had Dylan Gabriel from Oklahoma. I thought that dude is an X. I honestly thought he was going to win the Heisman this year going into the season. They're crystal balling him, quote, crystal balling him into Oregon, which would be insane. I hope that's the case. If I know that Oregon's history is we want a quarterback that is a good person, a good dude that wants to play team ball, doesn't care about the accolades, doesn't care about the like records, doesn't care about the money. They want to be an Oregon football player. So I'm curious to see if that will happen. Also, DJ Uyunglele, who who played for Clemson, transferred to Oregon State. He's in the portal too. He has been crystal balled to either Miami, Florida State, or Oregon, which I think would be kind of strange if you just jump ship from Oregon State to Oregon. I mean, just
Yeah, I kind of see him going to Florida State. That was my prediction for that. What is he in? Is the 6th year?
yeah, this
It'll
is
be
his
his
6th year.
6th year.
The biggest targets though have been those two names. I personally thought were the biggest targets, but has been Will Howard from K State, Kyle McCord from Ohio State, and then Cam Ward from Washington State. I also believe that Grayson McCall from Coastal Carolina, who people forgot a couple years ago was top 5 passing yards for the whole country, led them to an undefeated season. So, and the number 1 scoring offense, like he was good. I still think he's a good quarterback. He
Did he
might.
not? Did he not commit somewhere already?
I don't think he has.
Okay.
I don't believe so. We could look it up, but those were like the biggest names. And obviously, right now, in this day and age, in this date and time, Kyle McCord has been quote crystal balled to coming to Nebraska with Julian Fleming, which is his receiver that he played with at Ohio State. They both are now being rumored to being a package deal. So I'm curious to see how much. I think this is so weird to say is how much money that we have to fork up to bring them both here. I know Matt Rule and Coach Satterfield both made it a point to fly to Columbus and see both of them do whatever they could. And I know that Coach Satterfield stayed an extra night after Rule left just to kind of talk about scheme and talk about fit for both of them. And then Coach Satterfield went down to Baylor, see the Baylor quarterback, and then now he flew up to Washington State to see Ward. So I don't know what's your take on these quarterbacks. Like, who do you think that we'll land with, or do you think we're just gonna ride it out with the dudes that we've got?
No, I mean I think it's definitely safe because you don't, like we were talking earlier, you don't really know the nature of the NILs deals or the portals and who's in whose ear, and so you want to make sure that you don't just tie yourself down to one dude in the portal. Maybe try and go for someone like a big fish, like the Kyle McCord that we're trying to go for, and then just because we have the resources, because we're Nebraska, there'd be no reason not to go see face to face other quarterbacks because I'm sure there's going to be some coaches that don't go see those quarterbacks face to face, and they'll try and like Zoom and show them a check on the camera or something like that. Where Nebraska is a little bit more genuine.
I don't know. On3, who's like the one of the major recruiting sites in the country, they officially said that we have officially offered Kyle McCord and Julian Fleming. So there's speculation around, and obviously, word's been coming out that Kyle McCord is starting to follow all of our receivers and skilled players on social media. He's following all of our coaches back, and our coaches follow him. So I don't know. Like it, I think you and I both hopefully are in the same realm of there's all this talk. There will always be all this talk and these rumors about all this stuff, but we won't believe it until we see it, right? It's do we want Kyle McCord? Absolutely. We need him here. We need a real passer. Would we love Julian Fleming to be here? Absolutely. I definitely think that Julian Fleming, being the 4th-ranked national player for his class, coming into Lincoln and just kind of being the older brother, the big brother for Jalen Lloyd, Malachi, would be just massive. It would be just huge for us. And I know that Coach Rule and Satterfield have been making their rounds to all the commits, just to making sure everything kind of is still intact and everybody's still happy and content and making sure they're still coming. Um, it was highlighted, in my opinion, by the in-home visits that Rule and Satterfield have been doing to the Bellevue boys, the Bellevue West boys here, Davon Hall, Isaiah McMorris, and Danny Kalen. I did not know this, but Danny Kalen's an early enrollee.
Yeah, he's moving in a couple months.
I did not know that. So that's huge.
Yeah, that's huge. He needs to get in the weight program. and
the
start.
strength and conditioning and diet
Yeah,
program to get a little heavier and get some facial hair on him. And
yeah, he's only going to be a break glass in case of emergency, fourth string type of quarterback for next year.
I think
Just
we redshirted.
yeah, and hopefully that you can just redshirt him. Obviously, it's nice that you have the 4 games that maybe you can throw him in there to get some in-game experience.
Do
But
you so say just we'll just spitball it. Say hypothetically we get Kyle McCord. Do you believe that Harburg is going to stay in the quarterback room because they talked about moving him to either running back or tight end? Obviously, he's a little thin for a running back, but
I think he's like an H back.
really, you think so?
That's
Like,
what they were
yeah,
trying to say. But they were. Did you hear the thing they said that he wasn't even in quarterback meetings last year?
yeah.
He wasn't allowed to go to quarterback meetings last year. So maybe we don't know. Like he wasn't a good quarterback, but you don't like give him an off season of doing quarterback things and going to quarterback meetings. Like maybe he could become a serviceable third string quarterback for you, or have some packages in the red zone with him because you know he can.
Run the ball and
Yeah,
just
you
put
know
his
he
head
can take
down.
care of the ball like when he runs it. So,
I agree. When I read that,
but one thing real quick is they were saying, do you really believe Nebraska is just a quarterback away? Like, is our problems going to be fixed with getting a really good quarterback?
no,
No, it's not. We need a running back. We need a wide receiver. We're going to need to get at least one more cornerback in the portal. We're actually gonna be pretty thin in cornerback. They don't Hartzog's good, but you probably would like to have someone a little bit more reliable.
and it sucks too that I mean it sucks for Nebraska, but it's good for him. Quentin Newsome is going to the NFL. He finally declared, so it's good for him. Very happy for him. Very proud of him. Everything he's ever accomplished here. We wish him the best. I know that he'll do well. I think Nebraska corners has been doing very well in the NFL. My business partner BK played with Prince Amukamara at Nebraska, and Prince had a Hall of Fame career, in my opinion, at the New York Giants when he was drafted, Super Bowl champion. Bonzo Denner played for Nebraska. He's a Super Bowl champion with the Patriots. Um, we still have Cam Taylor-Britt in Cincinnati that has become their number one corner after they kind of let Jesse Bates go. It's good to see the Nebraska secondary making a name for themselves in the NFL and showing that we're good. We're good in the secondary, and I know that Tony White getting that extension that he respectfully deserved. I think that a lot more eyes is on the Nebraska defense again, especially because of Tony White and just how well we're doing. That now, when NFL scouts come to our games or even our pro day that's coming up, that they take a really good look at our defensive players and say, I can probably draft you in the third, fourth round, maybe the second round, maybe the sixth round, whatever it may be. Um, I don't think Newsome falls as high as a third rounder. Like I could see him going 5 and 6.
No, he would just be a solid. He'd be a really solid pick. Um, you wouldn't have to worry about like behavioral stuff or work ethic stuff, and he's a team player. He's strong and built to
Lengthy.
make tackles and like big boy tackles in the NFL because he's been playing in the Big Ten. And so I know NFL people really like the linebackers and some of the corners and stuff in the Big Ten because they know how to hit. Um, so yeah, I think he has the potential to have a really good career.
I'll give you breaking news real quick. First ever on the podcast, breaking news coming at you right now. Cam and Princewell both made freshman All-American honors.
Oh, nice.
Princewell's brother is now in the transfer portal from Florida. And once again, speculating, all him, his ties, and all Nebraska ties have been following each other on social medias. Do you think that he comes here? Do you think he makes that change to play with his brother?
The only other school that I saw that was potential in landing him would be Texas A&M, but I just there's so much stuff that's come out with Texas A&M. Like to me, you would have to be stupid to even want to go play there because I excuse me. I've heard a lot of the people that signed NIL deals have not seen a single cent of that money yet, and so
Oof,
um,
that's kind of scary to hear.
Yeah, and that's why like Nebraska may not be dishing out the largest checks, but we have things that are like set in stone that you will be making money here. Like we have things already set up for you to make money, and obviously Jeff Sims, a terrible quarterback, got a NIL deal with
Amigos.
Amigos and a tractor company, so it shouldn't be that hard. You can definitely make money here.
It's unfortunate. Jeff Sims also has entered the transfer portal. That was reported on Monday. Um, Once again, wish him all the best of luck. I think that was just kind of an experiment gone bad. I think that I don't want to say we didn't do our research on it because I think that role inside our field probably did. I just think he just didn't work out with our scheme and everything going on with our culture. It seems like he was a really good locker room guy. He was a good leader. It showed it on the sideline when they showed the sideline cam. He did a good job of supporting Harburg and even Shava, but I just don't think that his skill set was built for the offense that we had to kind of tweak week by week. I don't think we had an official like game plan for the whole season. I know Rule talks about it. He's like, we have a process. It's going to work, blah blah blah. But I think that Jeff just didn't fit our mold, and it's unfortunate because I wish him the best. I really do. But
I don't think he was. You have to be a different kind of person to be quarterback at Nebraska, and I don't, not to want to be rude, but I just don't think he was mentally
prepared
there
for this.
to. Yeah, I mean, all preseason when he got here, we barely heard him talk to any of the media or anything like that. He seems like a super introverted guy. Might be very very nice and a good locker room guy, like when he gets to know all those people and stuff like that. But to be a quarterback at Nebraska, you are under a microscope 24
Oh
7.
yeah,
Anything you do, anything wrong you do is going to be magnified and blown up almost to out of proportion. So it's tough. I mean, Adrian Martinez, I thought handled that pretty well.
I thought he did very too, and I know
The
Frost
mental
took the
side,
majority of it too.
yeah. He just had the injuries and some of his limitations with that, but I think Jeff Sims, honestly, most of that stuff that he did, or all the fumbles and all the miscues and stuff, I think it's just all in his head. Like he just wasn't prepared to be the quarterback at Nebraska.
Dude, just like I said, I just wish him the best. Another big news has been college football playoff. They announced the Final Four. On record, I have the receipts. I predicted the Final Four correctly. I have the receipts. I will show them to everybody. I do not care. Um, Michigan 1, Washington 2, Texas 3, Bama 4. Um, One of my coworkers brought up a good point of how do you put Bama in over Georgia? Georgia was undefeated all year, and the one loss was to Bama. I have been on record telling everybody I don't think that Georgia was that good this year. They just did not play good teams. I don't think that Georgia was as dominant as we've seen them. This is the first time that they played a team that is physically able to compete with them, which was Bama. Um, so I thought Bama deserved it. I really did. As much as it pains me to say that, I thought Bama, when you beat Georgia the way that you did, it gives you the nod. And if you look at the playoff committee, they don't put in teams that don't have a title to their name on their resume. So Bama has the SEC title, Texas is the Big 12, Washington's Pac 12, Michigan was Big 10. Like, they're not going to put in a team that doesn't have that title to their resume. I think snubbing Florida State, the reason why, in my opinion, that they snubbed Florida State was because of the fact that they're they're winning games.
Well, did you see that it's in a clause? Like it's in the rule book that you can be left out of the college football playoff if you have an injury that can be a huge detriment to your team or like whatever. Like it was a real rule that was in the thing, and they're talking about that's the first thing that needs to go because how many times have you played in a playoff game or whatever and like their left guard was hurt? They're not gonna leave a team out because their starting left guard is hurt. Like it's only if a quarterback gets hurt, and that rule in general is just super super dumb.
I agree. I think too that that's the reason. I think that that's kind of what I was getting at. That was the reason why they got left out because their quarterback got hurt, and that's exactly why. It's like your quarterback was the star of your team. That's just the way it is in football. Is the quarterback's the number one guy that you always look at. When he got hurt and when he went down, and even the backup got hurt and it got down to a third string, like that's what it is.
Yeah, and they said that by the time that Florida State would have played in the playoff game, their backup, obviously their starter wouldn't be good to go, but their backup quarterback, he was just nicked up, and so he would have been back to healthy. They would have had back, where they would have been back to their second string quarterback. And kind of like what you said, the big word that you used is win. If their quarterback broke their leg in the second game of the season and they continued to go undefeated, there would have been no question they would have been in the playoff. It's what stinks for Georgia. They were number one all year, and when did they lose it? The very last game of the season, the worst time that you can lose a game uh, in college football, and so
It's
that's
gonna be a good college football playoff. I think that
well,
this is gonna be good. I think that if you put Florida State at 4
besides all of Texas players leaving. They've had like 20 players enter the transfer portal.
before this game,
Yeah,
holy shit, that
they have.
actually like terrifies me for them. I
No,
was
I keep seeing on my Twitter there's another Texas player transfer portal, another Texas player transfer
I
portal.
was I'm excited to watch these games this year. I think that this is going to be a more competitive playoff. I think that if you put Florida State in, Florida State would have had to play Michigan or even Washington, and at that point, I felt like they were just going to get just like destroyed, like TCU did against Georgia. I mean, you got Michigan versus Bama, you got Washington versus Texas. I think that it wouldn't surprise me if Bama won. It would not. They're built for it. Saban's got the formula; it works. But I do believe that Michigan beats them by a game-winning field goal. I will predict it. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I'm going to say 24-21. I think it's going to be a very good defensive battle that's going to have either some blown coverages, some missed assignments. Um, what do you think for Michigan versus Bama?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of running the football and a lot of pride on the line. SEC, we're bigger, we're stronger, we can run the ball down your throat. We're Michigan State, we're Big Ten, we're bigger, we're stronger, we can run the ball down your throat. So that's the game I'm most excited to watch, just because it's going to be by far the most physical and just two teams of grown ass men playing like as close as
All
NFL.
game in college goes.
Yeah, yeah,
I think that these two games are going to be so polar opposites of one another.
yeah,
I think, like to your point, Michigan and Bama is going to be just a hard football game of just running the ball and just at one another. Where Washington and Texas is going to be a spread offense, air raid kind of game.
yeah,
Texas has good quarterback. Quinn Ewers, really good. He's the number one recruit. Washington's probably got the Heisman winner. They'll announce it this Saturday. I think Michael Penix wins the Heisman. I mean, he showed it all year when they beat Oregon again in the Pac-12 championship. I believe that Pac-12 championship game solidified who would have won the Heisman between him and Bo Nix. Michael won, so I think that the Washington Texas game is going to be a complete polar opposite of the Michigan Bama game, where it's going to be an air raid offense going against one another. It's going to be just a lot of scoring, and dude, there's a part of me that doesn't want to give it to Texas, but Washington's defense is going to be the key in this game. I'm going to give it 36 for Washington, 28 Texas.
yeah. I want Washington to win. I think it has the potential to be higher scoring than the Michigan Alabama game. Um, I'm gonna go with Alabama beating Michigan. Um, Low scoring. I don't know,
Did I
17.
did I did I say who I wanted to win? Bama and Michigan.
I'm not sure. I'll just say like 17-14 Alabama, and then I want Washington to win, and with seeing all of the Texas players entering the portal and stuff, I think maybe just they won't have enough firepower on either side of the ball to keep up with Washington. So I'll say Washington wins 34-21. And
I said Bama winning the last second field goal. I did say that, but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I think Bama will win too. So hopefully, I'm hoping it'll be a Michigan or a Bama Washington in the playoff, and that I think that'll be at least an interesting game.
I hope so. I hope, like, I don't know, dude. I don't care that Bama. I don't want Bama to win every year. I'm the kind of person that likes to watch greatness. I like to watch legacies be built. Like as much as everybody hated the New England Patriots for just constantly winning, but you got to respect like Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. You got to respect the fact that they were there every year, or even LeBron in the NBA Finals. Like he made the finals 10, 11 straight years. Like that's unheard of. That's insane. Like the fact that LeBron was in the finals for a decade straight shows that he is one of the greatest of all time. You just have to give credit where credit's due. And Saban's the same way. I believe Saban's the greatest coach of all time. I really do believe so. He's got the accolades to back it up. He's got the formula to prove it. And I genuinely believe that either next year or the year after, him and Bill Belichick will retire at the same time. They both are buddy buddies with one another. They've recorded either a Netflix documentary or an episode together or something. I'll have to go look back at where I found it or where I saw it. But they have an episode together where they just talk about how they balance their coach life, family life, and just their coaching, what they do, and how they coach their team. So for you guys out there that want to be coaches, like myself or even like them, that just constantly you just want to learn and get better as a coach or even just as a person, go find it, go watch it. It's glorious to watch, in my opinion. It's cool to see the two greatest football minds in the game in recent memory, just being on the same page and being like good friends with one another. Um, Anything else, Luke, you want to add about the college football playoff?
Nope. I think people kind of forget how long we have to wait here. Like we
gotta wait till January.
Yeah.
It's not January. It's New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve, and then you take a week off, and then you watch the final.
Yeah. So it's going to be still a while away. We don't know what will happen. Maybe something crazy will happen, but no, I'm just glad for it to come to a close and Nebraska to get the off-season national championship once again.
We're gonna do it.
The only thing that truly matters.
Cool.
Also, maybe give a quick shout out to the Husker volleyball girls heading
Facts.
into the Elite Eight
Again.
Sweeping Georgia Tech. I watched that game the other day, last night.
Play Arkansas next, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Be a good game. Creighton lost. Unfortunately, they lost to Louisville. I did watch that game at work. It's unfortunate. UNL lost a while ago, right?
Is it unfortunate?
I don't know. Also, guys, like I want to put out there too that we don't cover just like Nebraska sports. Obviously, we're favoritism because towards it, we're biased, towards it. But don't know if I've made it known. I'm a big UFC fan. I'm a big mixed martial arts fan. A little bit more myself than Luke. We are going to record a special episode with my buddy JB coming up this week. So JB and I will get in the lab together, get an episode for you guys. We'll give you guys our picks for the upcoming UFC pay-per-view, which is going to be electric. I'm really hoping that we have something good to talk about. 296. It's headlined by Leon Edwards and Colby Covington. And then the co-main event is going to be Bren Royval and I can't even say Alejandro's last name, but Stephen Wonderboy Thompson's on that, and then Hamza. Oh my gosh, Shavkat, dude! All of these guys' names are getting harder for me to pronounce. Tony Ferguson's fighting versus Patty the Batty Pimblett with the bowl cut. Love Patty, and it starts off with Vicente Luque versus Ian Gary. I'm a big mixed martial arts fan. I'm a big UFC fan. I'm actually a stockholder in that company. I'm very proud of that. I own 5 shares. But I'm going to get JB on the podcast with me. We're going to talk about the UFC 296. We'll give our predictions for it. And then we'll talk hopefully a little about UFC 300 that's coming up in the summer. That is supposed to be, quote, biggest UFC event in history, according to Dana White. He's trying to get everybody and anybody and everybody that he can to fight on that card. There's rumors that's going to be Connor versus Chandler, but we'll see. So be on the lookout for that. We do have a new YouTube channel, like I said earlier, ALP Entertainment on YouTube. We got some vlogs. You can listen to our episodes on there or on Spotify, whichever you prefer. And last of all, thank you guys for listening. Thanks for subscribing. We appreciate you guys. share us, let us know what we're doing, what you guys want to hear from us. Luke, you got anything else for the people?
No, I think maybe we'll just talk a little bit more transfer portal stuff next time. We'll give you the recap of the Nebraska Michigan State game Sunday. We'll give you the recap on where Husker women volleyball is. But yeah, I'm excited to see you guys. Excited to talk to you guys next time.
As always, guys, take care. Peace out.
Peace out.